Do you ever find yourself wishing that you could learn faster or that you had your own arsenal of moves to pull out whenever you wanted to? In this episode, we are going over how the use of patterns are going to make you a better dancer. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking all about patterns, and more importantly, the patterns that you see as a dance learner. And I like to mention this because, as you know, I am an educator of dance for over 20 years, and I actually went to school for teaching. So there's a lot about patterns that is hidden beneath the lesson plans of us teachers. So there are 3 categories of patterns that we're going to talk about. 1, the patterns that you'll find depending on what the class is. 2, the patterns that you'll find in terms of your learning style. And then 3, the patterns that you'll find in terms of building blocks, in terms of movement, and in terms of memory. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the third one. So we have a workshop called Improv, and I love to host this workshop because it can take and transform any dancer from not even having their own movement vocabulary to really having a lot and feeling confident about it. So there's a lot that I do in the structure of that class, and I have a lot of fun actually with it because it's so creative and it's so different, and we aren't learning a routine, and we're getting a chance to combine our room creativity. So when all the people in the room get creative at once, it's a different level of creativity. So I usually do an exercise in this workshop where I'll have a move and I'll show another move, and then I'll ask my students, how can you get me there? And the only rule is that you have to dance with intention to get there. So let's say, for example, I'm sitting on my bum and I have my left knee up by my chest and my right leg is out straight. It's giving Britney Spears, Sometimes I Run. I want to go to lay on my belly with my head facing stage right. So every move has intention, and we figure out the movements, and there might be more than one movement that gets us there. In fact, there could be and should be more than one movement that gets us there, because I usually strategically pick the 2 placements so that it wouldn't be the most obvious next move. And in doing so, my students are challenged with a thinking process of, what do I know to help me get there? And what does my body naturally do to get me there? And it's really fun watching this happen because there's 2 ways of it going. 1, the student can feel really stumped and just feel very unsure. I don't know. Or they could have all these ideas and kind of rush over to do it. And with both of them, we slow down a little bit. The first one, for the person who's getting really, really confused with it, we say, okay, slow down. Nothing matters. For the person who's going really fast with it, we say, okay, hold on. Everything matters. So there's different ways of approaching it. And for the person that's going really fast through it, we want to add in a little bit more thought and exactness to the moves. And for the person who's really thinking it and potentially overthinking it, we want to tell that person, give less Fs and get the F there. With those 2 situations in mind, you can imagine how it can be hard to know, well, if I fall into one of those categories, then how do I fall out of that category? How does it become easier? And we know that everything becomes easier with the amount of reps that you do. And we have a podcast episode on that, actually. It's episode 109. And the reason why this is so important to just get the reps in and to not make every rep matter is because part of what actually does matter is what you're coming up with through the process. So through the process, all of that thinking, the person who's going really fast, all the thinking they are doing to slow down and make everything matter, the thinking that that person is doing to not overthink and to speed up and give less Fs, that process of thinking is helping them acquire their own building blocks and their own patterns of thinking so that dance becomes more natural to them, and so that they have an understanding of what they're actually doing and what's required of them when they're dancing. Improvisation is one of the best tools to help people dance, and I truly hope that if you're listening to this right now and you are dancing, that you make time for improvisation especially if your studio and your instructor makes time for it. I hope that you also make the time for it and take them up on that offer. Improv is one of those things where you get to work on your style, your own creativity, the things that you're really good at and the things that you are working on, and the different patterns of movement that you have within you. And this is true in terms of not just dance, for humans. So if you're thinking about sentence structure and different dialects and different ways of communicating, if we were to go to Ireland right now as Americans, we would be saying things that are very different from the Irishmen. They would be saying, we went to the shop, yeah? And we'd be like, we went to the grocery store. Like, I don't know them because I'm not Irish, but I do know that there's a different way of speaking that you become accustomed to speak because you have what's around you repeating in patterns that you're picking up on constantly. This is why when you hang out with certain friends, you all say the same phrases. This is why when people are saying, clock it, like that's a thing now because it's becoming a pattern that people say, or, oh, that ate, or whatever the phrases are. This is how language gets developed. It's by repeating and by patterns and by the people around you doing the same things. So in dance, it's very similar. While in school, writing papers, I would have certain sentences that just either A, had a rhythm to it that I liked inside my head, or B, I liked the way of starting a sentence because it allowed me to go into that sentence the way that helped me go into another sentence. Dance is the same. I always tell my students that dance is very similar to a language because letters make words, which make sentences, which make paragraphs, which make essays. In dance, we have dance moves, which then make 8 counts, which make phrases, which then make routines, which then make full-on choreographies. So we're constantly building and utilizing the patterns that we have for movement. You might notice that certain choreographers have similar movements or similar patterns. It's because we have similar ways of speaking. Like take a second and think about the way that you talk and think about a phrase that you use all the time. Like even just going to your significant other and saying like, hey babe, did you blah, 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 blah. Like that's a way of saying something. So in dance, that would be, now I'm getting all the ideas for improv and my modern dance brain is like going off right now. Why don't we just do spoken word right now? Hey babe, what are you doing today? I think it would be funny. So we have patterns of movement. And when you have your movement patterns, you're able to dance more freely. We also create patterns as dancers in terms of learning. So we've talked about this before in terms of what you rely on. I had an episode, I don't know what number it's going to be yet, but it was all about what's inside your head as a dancer. And what can be inside your head are your counts, the phrases, the beats that you're noticing and recognizing, the lyrics. And so this plays into our learning style. Now there's patterns within the way that we learn. You may repeat what the choreographer says. That's creating a pattern. You might have a pattern of learning something, reviewing it in your head, doing it small, and then doing it big. That's a pattern. I have a pattern for creating, and especially with the performance team right now, we have our basic choreography, and then I go back into it and I spruce it up. That's a pattern of creativity. And there's an awesome book by Twyla Tharp called The Creative Habit, and she talks about how you can make your creativity a habit, which means that you're creating creative patterns, habitual patterns throughout your day and throughout your choreography process to be able to make this creativity not just come out of nowhere. It comes out because it's a practice that you do. So when you're learning dance, it's a practice that you are doing the learning. So when you have something that's more concrete, and this could be great advice for you as a beginner dancer, taking and understanding how you learn. Is it that the questions are helpful? Is it that you need the counts? Is it that it's more than that and you need a storyline? I joke with my students sometimes. Yesterday, we were at Swerve and we had this move that went out with the arm and it circled at the elbow 2 times. It came back in and then it came back out. And they're like, oh, okay, like does that go out and then in and then out? And just to explain it, I was like, okay, you have a sword. Your sword goes out. You bring it back in because you're so cool. You put it in the sheath and then you take it back out. And then like for whatever reason, it just like made sense for everyone. So creating that storyline can be really helpful for someone learning how to dance. It can also be really helpful for you to have the pattern internally to say, first, I need to go over it and watch it. Second, I need to do it halfly and then watch it. And then third, I need to do it by myself and close my eyes and maybe not look at myself at the mirror. That's a pattern of learning. And then the first one that I was talking about, which is the third one that I'm talking about now, because I went 1, 2, 3, and then I went 3, 2, 1. The first one is the patterns for class. So depending on the classes that you're taking, there are so many different dance classes that you can take, but one that's coming to mind in terms of patterns is salsa dance. So there are patterns that we use as leads to be able to lead efficiently. And it could be that we do an inside turn, an outside turn, a crossbody lead, and then some type of crossbody lead with a turn. And then you might have that little chunk of a pattern and you can pull it out. It's part of your moves inside your arsenal that you can take out and use whenever you want. The same is true for Dance With Me. So Dance With Me is a cardio dance class that's a follow along style, and there are patterns within there that get repeated. And when you can attach yourself to the patterns, you understand more of the movement. So we have doubles, we have triplets, and we have singles. And if you can identify what those are, then you can say inside your head, oh, I see that pattern. She's doing a double. Oh, I see that pattern. She's doing a triple. Oh, I see that pattern. She's doing a single. And then that's going to help you be able to learn the routine. There's other patterns within Dance With Me as well. Like there's the use of 32 counts, and there's the use of 16 counts, 8 counts, 4 counts. Once you're paying attention to the patterns, you catch on quicker. There's patterns within strut. For instance, I always start by letting my students hear the song. And then after we go into the first count of 8 or 16 counts, and then I go over it and then I let them hear it with the music. And the pattern is that first, we're listening to the song. Second, we're doing movement to the song. Then we listen to the song with movement. Then they get an opportunity to watch me with the movement. And then they get a chance to do it on their own. And in the teaching world, this is very much like creating a lesson plan. First, we teach it and we show it how it is. We direct, instruct. Then we do guided learning where we do it with them, and then we let them do it on their own. And it follows a pattern because the pattern works. And so when you can catch on to the patterns, you can predict, oh, she's going to do this next. Or, oh, I'm pretty sure I could ask for this right now because she's done this in the past. And this just makes you a more in tune learner. And I always tell my students, the more that you know about your learning style, the better you're going to be able to learn because you get to take control of your learning. You get to know what you need so that you can give yourself that. I always like to tell my students to be detectives and see what they can find just by looking versus being told. And it becomes a really helpful lesson for them because they're pulling out a different set of eyes. It's like the eyes of I'm going to find something versus I'm here and I'm watching. It's a difference between passive learning and following along versus active learning and following along. When you're constantly looking for patterns as a dancer, you're going to become a better dancer. So I hope that this was helpful for you today and that the next time you go to dance class, you're able to seek out some patterns and become a detective yourself so that you too can become the best learner that you can be. And if this was helpful for you, it would mean the absolute world to me if you shared this on your Instagram with a friend. Share it somewhere so that someone else also gets the benefit of the gift of dance. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.